You're still live with us on Breakfast Central, right here on News Central Television. Let's bring you more of our top stories. Now, the Rivers State House of Assembly has issued an arrest warrant for the chairman of the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission, Justice Adolphus Enebeli, over his failure to honor their invitation. Now, recall that the Assembly had issued a 72-hour ultimatum to the RSIEC chairman and his commissioners to appear before it and give accounts of the 2024 local government election. Meanwhile, the APC chieftain, Tony Okocha, has called for Governor Siminalayi Fubara's resignation or impeachment, accusing him of misgovernance and failing to implement President Bola Tinubu's intervention agenda.
As a political party, we are today advising the governor that there are two options available to him: resign or be impeached, because he has run the state aground. He has disrespected Mr. President, and we warned him. We said we will not sit here as a party to watch you insult Mr. President. Congratulate the assembly members who stood their grounds, 27 of them. Not even the overtures that were made, not the threats that came from.
We've taken enough from you, Mr. Speaker. I support Enebeli should be arrested. It's high time we arrested him. Thank you very much.
Distinguished colleagues, those for 24, those against nil, abstention nil. By these voting honorable members, this House has therefore resolved that Justice Enebeli and other commissioners who failed to appear before the 10th Rivers State House of Assembly will now be compelled by this House via a warrant issued under the seal of the Speaker to the Nigeria Police to bring them here to answer questions. And this will be done immediately so that the needful can happen. Rivers people can know what has been happening to their funds and what.
Emeka Beke, chairman of APC Rivers State Chapter, has berated Tony Okocha for his comment, referring to him as an imposter. 3 out of 8 commissioners of the state electoral umpire tendered the resignation over the weekend following the invite of the House of Assembly. In a swift response, Justice Adolphus Enebeli retired. The chairman of the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission had to approach the court to restrain the legislators from further interference. Now, join us this morning on Breakfast Central to discuss major matters arising from Rivers State political sphere is the chairman of Equatorial Local Government Area in Rivers State, Honorable Samuel Nwanosike. Good morning to you, sir, and thanks for joining us on Breakfast Central.
Good morning, and thank you for giving me the opportunity to share a platform.
Now, first off, Honorable Nwanosike, we want to know if the meeting, because the governor extended an olive branch to the Martin Amerule-led faction yesterday for a meeting at Government House at 10 a.m. Did that meeting hold?
Well, from all the information available to us, there was no such meeting. First, as a Rivers man and as an interested participant in this governance issue in our state, we understand how government at various tiers operates. And don't forget we have 3 arms of government and 3 tiers of government. But the tier we are talking about is the 2nd tier, which is governed by Governor Siminalayi Fubara of Rivers State. And we understand that from what we've gathered from the assembly members, that no letter was sent to them. All they saw was an invitation from the governor via the Secretary to State Government through social media platform. And as far as they are concerned, they don't have any short letter before them, and anybody can go to social media and post anything. And so the governor understands that in a democracy, the legislator is even the voice of the people. And if you're inviting them for a meeting, the appropriate official quotas in which those invitations should come. And so, as far as I'm concerned, such missing didn't go.
So, I mean, my question is, we hear that Enebeli's absence is what prompted the Assembly to take the unprecedented step of ordering his arrest. But there were also complaints that the notice should have been 72 hours as opposed to the 48 hours. Do you think that is one of the reasons why he refused to appear? And is that why exactly do they give a 48-hour notice as opposed to a 72-hour notice?
Hello, Honorable Nwanosike, can you hear us? Are you still with us?
Yes, okay. I'm with you. It's just I'm having a little freeze, but it's up now.
Did you get my question, or would you like me to repeat myself?
Please, you can, please. Okay.
So I was just asking, I mean, they mentioned that Enebeli's absence is what prompted the Assembly to take the step of ordering his arrest. But, there were also complaints that the notice should have been 72 hours as opposed to the 48 hours. So is that what could have prompted him not to show up at all? And do you think that there was a bit of personal bias that prompted them to give a 48-hour notice as opposed to the 72 hours?
First of all, there's a state of emergency, quote unquote, right now to speak. Don't forget, there are a lot of decisions made by the Supreme Court affecting a lot of activities that has to be explained to the people of Rivers State. And the most important of them is a representation of the budget of 2025 budget. Presentation of the 2025 budget to the Rivers Federal Assembly led by Justice Adolphus is one of them, and explaining to the people of Rivers State why Justice Enebeli and his commission decided to disobey court orders that led to the waste of Rivers people's funds. And don't forget, those funds were not appropriated for. And so the Assembly members thought it was very urgent for Justice Enebeli and his team to come up and explain for the people of Rivers State who are at the two constituency seats that make up the Rivers Assembly, how we got to where we are today. Because at the end of the day, it's Rivers funds that is being destroyed. It is the opportunity of the Rivers people that is being withheld. And everything has to be done urgently to obey the Supreme Court ruling so that we can go back to the day-to-day running of our states and enjoy the dividends of democracy. And not forget, when the first 48 hours elapsed, Justice Enebeli was given an extension of time, which expired on Monday. And I want to seize the opportunity to commend the three commissioners that had the courage to stand against fear and say, no, by the laws of Nigeria, since we are in a constitutional democracy, the legislator has the right of oversight. They have the right to invite whoever, whether a government official or those who live and do business in Rivers State, because all our activities are intertwined, or interwoven. So the Assembly can invite you to ask questions on your day-to-day activities. But most importantly, when it has to do with the funds of the people of Rivers State, and our governors that administers the responsibility of the Assembly to ask those questions. So we don't know why Justice Enebeli, who is the justice of Rivers State Judiciary, would allow himself to be put in this quagmire, because as far as we are concerned, all he needed was to come there and explain to them what happened.
But now that he's gone to court to seek an order restraining from, the Rivers State House of Assembly from restraining them from inviting him, how do we get out of this quagmire? In what ways would the Assembly get to ask him these questions now?
Nothing happened in the court. He went to court to seek a redress. The court told him they cannot issue any order without putting the people on notice. And the matter has been adjourned a date in April. And don't forget, Justice Enebeli has on his own announced a date of election without telling the people of Rivers State what has transpired. Because the decision of annulling that local government election, the Supreme Court was very explicit on it. They said the election that was conducted on 5th of October does not agree with the Electoral Act 2022, meaning that the Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission law is not in conformity with the Electoral Act. So why go in a hurry to announce a date of election without agreeing with the legislators? How do we work on our laws to be in tandem?
Honourable, in all fairness, Honourable Nwanosike, in all fairness, do you think Justice Enebeli is acting on his own accord or taking orders from Governor Siminalayi Fubara to make this sort of very important decisions?
It's taking the words out of my mouth. You know, there is a saying that says when a witch cries in the night and the baby dies in the morning, everyone knows where to look at it from. Enebeli is acting under the directive of the governor of Rivers State. So we think that if the governor had come on air to say he's willing to implement all the decisions of the Supreme Court, why not turn around and come behind and tell Enebeli, who you know is a government official, not to appear before the Rivers House of Assembly? And it's unfortunate. We believe that since after the decision of the Supreme Court, that the governor would have come out from this shadow of being called a man that disobeys court judgments. The Supreme Court was very clear in their ruling. If you read the satisfactory copy, you will see the names that we are used on the governor. Because if a democratic leader does not obey the rule of law and does not obey court orders, he has no business being in democracy. So for us,
so I was going to ask that. I'm glad that you raised the concern about Justice Enebeli being called a man that disobeys court order. But this even goes beyond him. Do you think that this sets precedents and Rivers State generally stands, is at risk of defying the need for accountability with what he's doing currently?
Exactly. That's what we're saying. Well, once you cripple the legislature, which the Supreme Court also said in their satisfactory copy, that it has been the ambition or the aim of the governor being issued to govern Rivers State without a legislator. And it is not democracy. And that's why the Supreme Court in their ruling said there have been no government in Rivers State. In a situation where people are parading themselves as commissioners, as attorney general of a state, as government officials, without obeying the rules of Rivers State and the Constitution of Nigeria, which says for you to hold such offices, you must be screened by the Rivers State Assembly or any assembly of any state before taking oath of office. None of these persons have gone through this process. And the speaker has said, because we want peace, Mr. Governor, in writing, can you ask these people who have no business in government, please stay away from government activities and send a new list of your appointees so that we can screen them and so that you can swear them in so that we can have a proper governance system in Rivers State. The same governor that announced to the people of Nigeria and the people of the world that he is willing to implement the judgment of Supreme Court is not going against it by asking Enebeli and his other remaining commissioners not to appear before the legislator. He's making rubbish of our democracy. He doesn't believe in the rule of law and he doesn't believe in due process.
Now, Honourable, you mentioned something about delivering dividends of democracy to the people. Rivers State has been in a quagmire for a while now, and after seeing the certified true copy of the Supreme Court judgment, the governor, in his own wisdom, I believe he was trying to make entreaties to reach out, extending an olive branch to the 27 lawmakers, decided to invite them for a meeting. That meeting didn't hold. You mentioned procedural issues about how the communication was made. If he does invite them properly, using the proper channels, don't you think it's time they meet to discuss things? Because there's so many issues. The Supreme Court has withheld allocations to Rivers State. Salaries needs to be paid. Teachers need to be paid. The machinery of government needs to move on. And you can't afford to stay in this quagmire. And that brings me to my question. That's Mr. Tony Okocha. Number one, he described the invitation as a great gift. Do you think it's a great gift? And number two, he has called for the resignation of Mr. Governor or impeachment. What do you make of this?
Well, first of all, I want to say here clearly that I'm not a member of the Rivers House of Assembly, but as a Democrat, I understand there are due processes in communication between the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary, because they three arms make this government at any tier. Now, remember that going by the Supreme Court ruling, there is a crisis, financial crisis situation that is going to erupt soon if actions are not taken. And I think the assembly members who are the voice of the people of Rivers State, having the people at mind, quickly, as soon as that judgment was delivered, called on the governor of the state to please, can we do first thing first? Can you bring the 2025 budget? In fact, they were even so nice to say, forget about 2024 budget that has been a point of contention all this while. Let's talk about the one that's available now. The 2025 budget that we presented before 4 May.
Okay, we seem to have some connection issues with our guest, the chairman of Ikwe local government. Okay.
For not following the rule of law, and if you present this budget, we need to work on it swiftly so that, in obeying Supreme Court order, funds will be released, because Supreme Court said clearly, spend your budget for appropriation. You can't spend or manage the resources of Rivers State without an appropriation. That is not democracy. It's not democracy. You understand? So we are saying that if the governor truly means well for the people of Rivers State, if he truly feels the pains of the people of Rivers State, all he needed to do since he got the certified true copy was to send that budget, which had already been a public document by his actions that he sent to the other 3 persons, send that same budget back to the assembly and let the assembly quickly pass that budget, and so that funds can be released, so that even the executive, legislative, and judiciary can have access to manage affairs of the Rivers State people. So the onus lies on the governor. It is the governor that is, even after having been bottomed by the highest court of our land, that he is actually disobeying court orders. He doesn't have respect for the judiciary. That he would have started turning a new leaf to say, no, moving forward, I'll take the advice of the letter 6, and I'll say, let the right thing be done for the interest of the people of that state. And I think it is on that premise that the chairman of APC, which is an opposition party, seeing that the governor has distanced himself from the true democratic practice as enshrined in our laws and our constitution, to do autocratic things that is not known by any democratic practice, that he should either resign, or he's calling on the lawmakers to do the needful as enshrined in the constitution. So for me, the APC party chairman didn't say anything out of the blues. Or he said we have practiced and programs of democracy, they're all written in our laws, black and white. And so on that premise, I think
Okay, we seem to be having some connection issues with the Honorable Nwanosike. We hope to reconnect with him soon. He's the chairman of Ikwe local government area in Rivers State, and we've been discussing the Rivers State crisis between the legislature and the executive arm of the government. He did give an update about the, we have reports that Honorable Nwanosike is back.
Can you hear us?
Sorry, yeah, I can hear you clearly. We're still improving in our technology in this country, Nigeria. So just bear with us.
That's fine.
Bear with us. Everything is going to be fine. Nigeria is heading towards the positive direction, and we're growing in a speed that in the nearest future will become the true giant of Africa.
Okay, so Honorable Nwanosike, speaking of projections, I mean, we are all hopeful for Nigeria, but talking about Rivers State, how do you see this playing out? People are now calling for the governor's resignation because obviously it feels like he's evading, his responsibilities in terms of handling this. And then this is also reflecting on the accountability or the lack of it thereof in the state, which might now have a domino effect, across board. So how do you think this is going to play out? Justice Enebeli has refused to appear. 3 commissioners have resigned. It's all really messy, and it's been for a while now. What are we expecting to see?
Simple. The law, when the law appears, everybody will take its course. the law of Nigeria is a respecter of no man. The governor has no other choice than to obey the laws of our land. And like me and you know, the ruling of Supreme Court in any matter is going to be the law of our land by our democratic practice. We have no other court to go to. We have no other place to appeal to. The decision has been taken by the Supreme Court. And like the governor said in his broadcast, that he is going to obey every of those decisions and make sure they are implemented. The governor has no other option, no meeting or no calling for any dialogue to change the fact. Any dialogue outside obeying the laws of Nigeria is gross misconduct and is not known by any democratic.
But don't you think they need to sit down and iron out some of these issues? Because the executive doesn't run the state alone. You need the laws of the legislative arm of the government and, of course, the judiciary. That's what makes up the government. So they can't work in silos and in isolation of each other. There's also this fear of impeachment and removal hanging, because they have the greater numbers that, once these people come back together, they might do the bidding of the unseen hand in Abuja and just get rid of him, take the nuclear option and get rid of him. And that also has implications, because there are reports of Niger Delta militants saying, if they dare impeach or remove the governor, Siminalayi Fubara, they will attack oil installations. You do know the implication of that, the wider implication for the Nigerian economy and our foreign exchange earnings. So what will be a win-win for both parties, a diplomatic way to get out of this conundrum?
Well, let me start with the last thing you said about militants. Not militants, those are a set of young men who were put together by desperate persons who can actually reason to follow the tenets of democracy behind their buildings. They're putting threats. Nigeria is bigger than that. Nigeria is a country that is bigger than all of us. And so when once you go that direction, and it's unfortunate that it is Mr. Governor that has given that through. We have clips of him saying he will instruct his boys at the appropriate time to commit crisis in this nation. But I think he's now taking a step back. We had a statement yesterday saying that he will not encourage any violence after he spoke from the other side of his mouth in anger. We feel his pain, we feel his pain. And again, it shows clearly that he is actually not a Democrat, as the Supreme Court said. Because if he's a Democrat, and he had the unprintable names the Supreme Court used on him, he would have said, wait a minute, gentlemen, this is democracy. They have said there have been no government in Rivers State before today. Why would that word be used in my administration? Because I broke down the legislator that is even the foundation of democracy. The two constituencies. He destroyed the Allo chamber because of the fear of impeachment. Impeachment is part of our government program. It is there as a check and balance. And so the drafters of our law were very explicit that if you commit offenses, infractions against the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that you have sworn an oath to uphold, that this part of the Constitution will put you on check. If Governor is impeached, he will not be the first governor. If Governor Fubara is impeached today, he will not be the first governor in the history of Nigeria to be impeached. Governors have been impeached. They have contested impeachment to the Supreme Court. They have won and come back to office to finish their mandate, and they've learned their lessons from those processes. So what we are saying is that Rivers State is bigger than all of us. The governor should know that the constituencies if you say, I will decide who will stay as the assembly, well, I will decide which assembly to work with. In fact, using his actual word, he said, I just allow them floating, that I'm going to send them to their villages. No Democrat speaks like that, not to the level of the office of a governor. So as far as we are concerned, the Supreme Court have told both the governor, who is the head of the executive, and the legislative, and led by Justice Enebeli, how to solve this problem. And it's not ambiguous. One, Enebeli and his 27 other lawmakers should be allowed to carry out the legislative function uninterrupted wherever they choose to stay, because the governor have destroyed the actual place they were supposed to stay because of the fear of impeachment. Two, send back or present the 2025 appropriation bill so that funds can be released from the central bank. You cannot spend funds, whether internal generated revenue or location from the federal government or any other fund belonging to Rivers State, without an appropriation law, like you did in 2024, which is a breach of our constitution. Spent funds from 2024 without an appropriation. Justice Okocha said so. Court of Appeal warned you, advised you to go and present 2024 budget. You refuse. Now you've been boasted that the 2024 budget is gone, that you're not talking about 2025. You still went back and submitted the 2025 budget to 3 persons. And the Supreme Court has not said, no, go back and do the right thing, Mr. Governor. We are in a democracy. We are not in an autocratic rule. We are not in a military dictatorship. So, again, you can't say you are a commissioner or you are people of Rivers and talking to the people of Rivers State, thinking that people will just keep quiet. No. If you have not appeared before the legislators for screening, don't know your background, don't know what you've done in the past, we don't know if you're qualified to hold such an office as enshrined in our law, you should please leave the government, because you are an imposter. And every form or every activity you have taken is a criminal activity against the people of Rivers State.
Thank you very much for your time with us, Honorable Samuel Nwanosike, Chairman of Ikwerre Local Government Area. We'll continue to observe the situation in Rivers State, and we hope, we have an amicable solution to this crisis.
All right, thank you, Honorable Samuel. But before you go, I just want to ask, I know that you've talked about, the law taking its place, and once the law sets in, everything comes. But if you were in a position to prefer a solution, like a lasting solution, because Rivers State has been in a quagmire for a long time, if you were to prefer a lasting solution to the Rivers State crisis, what would it be, before you go?
Mr. Governor, obey the laws of the Supreme Court. That is the laws of Nigeria. If I am in his shoes, I will come down from my high horse. Now I have made a mistake. I'm a human being. No human being is infallible. Now I've been corrected by the laws of the land. I will follow their directives and the provision as spelled out in the certified true copy of those judgments, one after another. Not just to say that I will implement by May saying it and I go behind to take other steps. No, I will not only say it, but I will take steps to make sure I obey the laws as stated in the certified true copy judgment given by Supreme Court.
Do you have any message for the Martin Amewule-led 27 lawmakers also?
Yeah, the message I have for Martin Amewule and his colleagues is that Rivers people voted for you to defend democracy. Before now, even you media houses and other people used to say, in the entire Nigeria, we don't have any assembly that can put a check to the activities or the excesses of governors. That what we have are all of our stamp assembly. So we thank God Almighty that a time has come in Nigeria where democracy is not speaking, because with the legislature having its own ground, other states will take a leaf from that and say, yes, we must obey the laws of our land. So I am advising them to please stand with the people of Rivers State, defend the Constitution like they swore in their oath of offices and allegiance, and make sure There are house rules and the house rules and laws, and I intend them with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and that is what they are using to manage our affairs as Rivers people.
Thank you very much, Honorable. But I'm sure some people will argue that, you know, the Rivers State Assembly is not truly independent, and they're taking orders from the FCT minister in Abuja. But that's a conversation we can have another day. Thank you so much.
No, sister. Excuse me, you cannot say so. You know, media people are very smart. You said there's a statement you made while you were communicating with us. You said there are unseen hands in Abuja. Now you have come clear to say FCT minister. Let me just ask you a question, my brother. Is the FCT minister the one that is asking the governor of Rivers State to disobey the laws of Nigeria? No. Even if the FCT minister
you
is in
believe the FCT minister has nothing to do with the crisis?
Hold on, sir. Let me just, because you brought it up. If the FCT minister, for instance, is in disagreement with the governor, if Matsamewule is in disagreement with the governor, it doesn't mean anything to Rivers people. What it means is that there is a laid-down principle, rule of law, and the constitution to follow. If you do your part as the executive, obeying the Constitution of Nigeria, the senators will do their part. Nobody from anywhere will control anybody. So trying to hide under the name of, somebody is controlling the assembly and creating crisis and breaking the laws you swore an oath to protect and uphold is embarrassing to the governor himself. And I think nobody should be going that direction.
Honorable, I just want to quickly clarify that the media does not exactly, oppose a stance or push a narrative. At the end of the day, there are speculations, right, from the public, and until it is outrightly clarified, people are entitled to their opinions, and that's why we have these conversations for these kind of issues to be clarified. So it's not the media pushing narratives. But thank you so much for joining us to discuss this. It's been a very interesting conversation, and we'll definitely see how it turns out in Rivers State.
Thank you very much, Honorable.
Thank you for having me, my brother.